Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I am doing another build in The Sims 4, this time using no custom content and just paid DLCs from the game. And this build is a family home in the world of Willowcreek. It's been a while since I've actually built this, but I know that it has a few bedrooms and bathrooms. Even though it looks small on the outside, it's a good size on the inside. And I was off the channel for a little bit because I was moving around and I didn't have a quiet space to do the voiceovers again. But now I do, and I'm already working on the next build for the channel too, and that's almost done. So I'm gonna start making more. The last build I did on the channel was that huge family ranch with like the farm area and like the horse stables, and I really liked that build. It was kind of a mixture of CC and regular stuff from the game, but like I said, this time it will just be regular DLCs. And this video would have been up earlier if I would have just put music over it, but I prefer to watch videos with voiceovers, so I like to do mine with voiceovers. So the shell of the build is coming together. I used these windows, these white swatches from the Discover University pack for majority of the house, and then I used these shutters from the Horse Ranch pack. And I don't know if I mentioned this, but this is on a 30 by 20 lot. And it's one of those that's bigger from the front to back than side to side, so this does end up having a pretty good backyard space. Now you see I'm just figuring out the roofing on this little curved part. Yeah, and I was going back and forth with the color scheme, but I end up doing like a light green everywhere, and I think that that looks really nice with the brown shutters. I feel like it looks very homey, and I kind of try to incorporate some of that green into the interior furnishings as well. And then I just use this stone from Cottage Living on the chimneys. I was gonna do brick with it, but I just didn't think it looked very good with the green shade that I had picked, so I went for this, and I think it looks pretty good. And although I am doing a voiceover, I'm still planning on adding some like just like default music to the silent parts when I'm not talking, so then it's not like completely quiet, so that won't change. And I also have to get back into the flow of doing voiceovers, since I haven't done them for over a month. So this one might have more silent parts than usual. But yeah, so I just finished the shell of the house, and now I'm adding some landscaping and just figuring out how I want the front yard to look, because this is a pretty big front yard too. And as far as like landscaping in Willowcreek, like for the trees, because regular landscaping for suburban houses, I kind of stick to the same like kind of flowers and bushes, but as far as trees goes, I do like to try extra hard matching them to like the world around them, because that's what you see a lot. So for Willowcreek, I always just go for like the regular oak tree, the tall and like the short ones. And then like for Brittleton Bay, I'll go for the white birch ones with like the bigger like tree trunks, because those are just everywhere around the world. But as for the hydrangeas, I use them everywhere except like Oasis Springs, or like I had some in horse ranch builds, but I mostly like to stick to cactuses for like those deserty looking worlds. But yeah, so now I'm just kind of finishing up the front yard landscaping. And something that I notice really makes a difference from like my own builds and then watching other people kind of do the same thing sometimes is putting those low-lying pale flowers, and that's like what they're called if you're searching them. Just putting them on the perimeter of all your landscaping, it just makes it look really nice and like natural. And now I'm moving on to the backyard. This backyard includes a little like cookout area with a grill. And then I also added this fence to the side to connect the sidewalk. I don't usually do this, and I thought I'd give the build something extra and like nice looking. And I'm pretty sure I also added a swing set in this backyard. And then I also ended up putting the trash cans back here, which usually I don't do that. But since I had like a walking space, I thought it looked better there than by the mailboxes where I would usually put it. And now I'm just mirroring the landscaping in the front to the back. And now I'm moving on to that grill part that I was telling you about. At first I did have green chairs to kind of match the house, but I didn't really like the wood tone that came with the green cushion. It was like a very orangey wood, and I'm just not a fan of that. So I just changed it to these white chairs. Then I add some clutter. And I recently got the front pack, not recently, but like in the last like 2 months, and since I have that, I now have that little hopscotch thing, so I decided to make use of it on that little patio space. I thought it looks really cute. And then to fill up the space on the porch, I put a cat's like litter box. I just assumed the family living here might have one. And then I also put the little beehive thing where your Sims can like get honey and stuff, just as like an extra gameplay thing in the backyard. And then I'm just adding mud all around those bushes just to make the build look more realistic again. And then I also added the flower arranging table, so there's a lot of gameplay in this backyard for Sims of like every age. And now I'm just adding lighting everywhere. I'm just working on the front porch. And I'm pretty sure this bench I use is from Seasons, and I just think it's so cute. I love the little pillows, so I made that to match the house. And I'm just adding a stool. This one's from Jungle Adventure. I'm pretty sure I put a flower on top of it. And now I'm moving on to the inside of the floor plan. This floor plan actually took me multiple tries, like as far as stair placement. I cut out a lot of it because it was just unnecessary. At first I wanted to like have a loft by the steps, but I don't know if it's a bug in my game. I'm pretty sure it is, because my houses just don't like to loft. Like the roof clips in and like it's just a mess. So I decided to make that part that was going to be lofted just into a small bathroom. Then when you walk into the house, there's a dining room. And then by the back door, that's where the kitchen space is. And then the part with the bump out on the side, that ends up being the living room. And then there ends up being 3 bedrooms up here and 2 bathrooms, and then there's a bathroom and utility room downstairs. But like always, I only keep in the furnishing of 1 bathroom. And now I'm moving on to the kitchen, and ever since we got the base game update with these new counters, I use them like all the time. I think they look so nice. And also for my family homes, I use the fridge from the kitchen clutter pack or whatever, kitchen clutter kit. And it just makes it look very lived in. And I also did the flooring and wallpaper off camera because that takes me a while as well. Now I'm just figuring out what tile pieces I want for the small part of the kitchen. And off camera, I just took out a bunch of clutter from the catalog, but you do see me place it individually. It just takes a long time scrolling through. And this kitchen has a lot of stuff from that kitchen pack. Like I used the spice rack thing, I used the dish soaps and the dish rack, and I also used the cookie jar and the little pantry containers. And what you see me doing here is I'm using this little shelf to make everything level on top of the microwave. It works the same as if you use that red shelf mod that a lot of people use, where it just levels with anything and it has slots. That shelf does the exact same thing if you don't want to download that mod. And to find it, you just type in shelf and it's right there. It's from the Dream Home Decorator game pack. But you can do it with probably any shelf. I'm just finishing up the kitchen area with some food bowls. And I also added an alarm, and I added the burglar alarm back here because there was more space over here than there was by the front door to add it, and it's very bulky, so like adding it by the front door it just looks like a lot sometimes. And I was kind of struggling with what to do in this back corner because since they have a dining room, I didn't want to put another table here. So I'm pretty sure I just fill it out with like an ottoman with pillows and then a plant. And the ottoman that I use is from the Horse Ranch game pack, and then I also end up adding the activity board. It's from the Parenthood game pack. It's where your Sims will leave notes and things like that. I usually use it in gameplay just to set the curfew. I'm not sure if it does anything aside from that. But yeah, so I added that. Now I'm moving on to the dining room. And I was going to close this off and then just have a little hallway, but I didn't think it was that necessary. Because it just shrunk the room down way too much. And I also would have had another wall to decorate with like random photos that just didn't need to be there. And I think that doing it like this kind of makes the home more realistic. Because at least in houses that I've been in, not a lot of people just have a whole hallway just for a staircase. And I do that a lot in The Sims just because the floor plan comes pretty easy when you do that. But I think that this version looks really cool too. So I end up going for a round table in here because it just fills out the space better. And this table is from Horse Ranch. And now that I'm decorating the house, you can see how I try to include some of the green from the exterior by using these curtains like in here, and then I use them again in the living room. And then I just add a little hutch. This one is also from the Jungle Adventure game pack, and then I decorate it with like this team photo and then just random objects. Like this clutter object, it's the pottery from the Business and Hobbies pack. I will say, when I was like cluttering up these spaces, I realized how we need so much more clutter in The Sims as someone who like likes really cluttering up their builds, specifically with like book clutter. Like with each expansion pack, they'll give us like one set of like upright books, not like stacked ones, but just upright. But then in like the regular base game, there's only these ones that I put on the hutch. And they gave us more swatches, but it's still only one type of book, and it can look pretty repetitive. But when I do CC builds, I have so much CC of just random books, and it really does like make the build sometimes when you're trying to like fill up spaces. But I'm now finishing off the dining room by just adding another end table, and I just clutter that up again. Then I add another one of those green pillows to just tie everything in, and then the salt and pepper on the table. And now I'm moving into the living room. And then I added a fireplace, and when I'm doing floor plans, I love when it works out where I can have an indoor fireplace mirror where I put a fireplace on the outside. It's kind of rare that it happens that way for me, but I just think it's so cool and like realistic to just have it in that spot. Especially when you play with half walls up, half walls down, sometimes there won't be a wall behind that fireplace if I were to put it on the opposite wall. So it's just nice that it's on that side as well. And I just went for these couches. I'm pretty sure these ones are from high school years, and I used them in the swatch because the green blanket is literally the same as the curtains, and that looked really nice. And in this living room, I imagine that the Sims living here play a lot of chess. There's like a chess magazine on the living room table, and then I also ended up filling in that bump out with a chess table because I didn't just want to add more seating. Like, there's so much seating in this living room, so I decided to do it with that instead because you have gameplay there too. But yeah, and this living room is a pretty big space. Now I'm just cluttering up more surfaces. And then I add this remote. This is from the debug menu. And then I'm adding more pillows on these couches just because they look completely identical. And that's just unrealistic, so I tried to make them look a little different. And here, I'm deciding what chess table to put. And then on this back wall, I just add some shelves and then a big gallery photo. And the railing from the stairs is clipping into the other side of this wall, which is why I decided to place that picture there and not completely centered with the couch behind it. It is centered though, for the most part. But yeah, the rooms upstairs are for parents, a kid, and then a teenager sim. And when I do kids and teenagers' bedrooms in The Sims, I like it to look themed sometimes. because then there's just like more objects that I can put like towards that theme. So the kids' room in this is kind of a sporty theme because we have a lot of sports posters in the regular game. And then the teenagers' room I made for a girl sim, and it's just more like dark colored, like purples and blacks, so that was kind of the theme that I went for that. And like kind of like crystal-y, because I used stuff from the Crystal Creation stuff pack in that too. And now I'm just figuring out ways to fill up all of this living room space. I added another end table. And now I moved on to the upstairs. I started furnishing the parents' room. And I'm pulling out all these random beds because at this point I haven't decorated with just regular DLC for like a few videos. Not really, it's like every other I like to switch. But I just wanted to see what beds the regular game had. But I went for the one from Business and Hobbies because it just looks like the comfiest. But yeah, and for parents' rooms, I've said this before, I just make them match the interior of the house. I don't really theme them hardly ever. It could easily pass as just a guest room. Yeah, and then this room was also big and like kind of awkwardly shaped because it had 2 bump outs instead of just like 1. So I filled up that corner with a closet, and then I add a little desk in here because this home doesn't have a home office. But I like to always add computers somewhere because they just offer a lot of gameplay, so I ended up using one of the bump outs here to fill it in with the desk. I'm just adding a lot of clutter on this too. And now I'm just adding these new photos. These were also from a base game update. They're like the family photo little gallery. I'm just adding little trinkets on this little desk over here, like phone, keys, glasses, perfumes, just random stuff. I'm pretty sure I end up adding like a coat or like a bathrobe over here or something. Yeah, purses. I know it was like some kind of accessory or clothing over here. I'm just adding more family photos. And here I ended up adding another ottoman. And now I've moved on to the teenagers' room. And I actually really love the way that this room came out. I wish I was better at taking screenshots in the game because this room just looks so pretty. But I did take one that you'll see at the end of the video with all the other screenshots, and it's just a really nice angle of like the bed and like all of like the clothes and the vanity that I add in here. And here I'm just figuring out how I want like the room to be laid out since it's pretty like rectangular. And I love that I went with this purple wallpaper. I don't usually use just like the plain ones like this. They're just like a sharp color, but I think it looks really nice with all of the black. And I'm pretty sure this bed is from high school years too, and it just has like the prettiest swatches ever. And then I'm just cluttering up this little shelving unit that I think fills out the space so perfectly, and it's not bulky at all either, which is really nice. And I'm just looking for like posters and stuff that I think would fill up the room. I was looking for that one banner that has like the llama on it. It's like black and white, but I could just not find it anywhere. Like, I probably took like 30 minutes looking for it. But then I end up finding these little paintings that I think look really cool in here too, because they kind of match the rug. Yeah, and there you can see in the search I literally type in llama and I just wasn't getting anything. But yeah, and then I add these little Polaroids from the For Rent pack. They're also hard to find too. Like, the first one in the catalog is a heart, but if you keep going through the swatches, then you do find the Polaroids. So I added those ones, and here I'm just adding a vanity. And I'm putting all those water bottles there to fill up the slot so then I can freely move objects on it without having to, like, guess where the vanity is when I'm moving them around. And I'm just adding basically all of like the makeup, skincare, nail clutter I can find. And also this little jewelry rack from the Everyday Clutter kit matched in here so well. So I added that. Same with this chair, like it just looks so good I had to put it somewhere. But yeah, I'm obsessed with this room. It's my favorite room in this entire build. I think it looks so nice. And I'm just adding some more little random posters. And over here, I add a little closet space. And now I moved on to the kids' room of this house. I imagined a boy sim in this room, just because I already made a bedroom for a girl sim and I wanted like some variety. So yeah, it's very sports themed in here, because I just wanted to make use of all of those sports themed posters we have in the bed and even the wallpaper. Like, there's just so many sports things in the regular Sims game. So, and this is a smaller room, so it was pretty easy to fill up with space. And I add a desk in here too, and I'm pretty sure I add like one of those little kid looking computers onto it too. So there is technically 2 computers in this house. One of them is just like the really tiny one. And the screenshots of this room are really cool too, because there's just so much clutter in it. Like, these rooms just look really lived in my opinion. Now I'm adding that desk that I was talking about. And that's the small computer that I was referring to. I just had a mirror. And the last thing that I furnished that you'll see is the hallway, and I'm pretty sure a bathroom. But yeah, this room is pretty much done for the most part. I just add the little pile of like sports equipment, like the baseball bat, and I'm pretty sure a basketball or something. And then I add the trophies on the wall, because it's just such a nice wall decoration. It looks so realistic. But yeah, the hallway is pretty boring. I wasn't even sure if I was gonna keep it in, but it's the only hallway really in the house, so I thought that I would. But yeah, this video is pretty much over aside from just the screenshots at the end. So I'm actually gonna end the voiceover right here and just play like some random music or whatever while the bathroom and hallway get furnished, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!